Okay, well, I'm ready when you are
You're ready for what?
to begin the show. Or
Oh.
show started.
All right, let's start the show.
All right,
Tom Nardone.
how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing
Now
really good.
that's a loaded question.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, my voice is. It's a loaded question. It's funny. And for those of you that don't know, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor about, I guess, near a month ago, and it's tomorrow. We are leaving to go to Charleston. We've done all the appointments and stuff. I had to get 3 different scans, and I met with a speech pathologist, and tomorrow we're leaving to go to Charleston. September 19th is at 10 a.m. is the date and time of my surgery. We got to check in at 8. And yeah, I've been, pretty good about it. I look for even, I work at Home Depot, and I do, when I meet customers, I think of excuses to mention my brain tumor, which isn't particularly easy to work that into a conversation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
See, I'd be like, oh, are you looking for a hammer? They might use one of those when they do my brain surgery on Monday to crack my skull open.
Similar, or if I like, actually go down the wrong aisle, and I say, you know what, it's not me, it's the brain. and they'll think, are you serious? I said, actually, yeah, I am. And then we get into the conversation.
And then they leave without buying anything, right? Because they're so like...
Well, it's not important to me if they buy anything. It's important to me if they stop by the service desk, insist the manager come to the service desk, and then extol the many awesome virtues of Tom Nardone and how great he was. But no, Home Depot has been just so great during this whole thing. And, they, as you saw you saw the blog post, and they made the patch for me that everybody in the store is wearing.
So I just wanted, because we recorded something earlier that we're probably just going to scrap. So can I tell my version of learning about this patch?
Your version really boosted my ego. So definitely continue that.
So the other day I was on Facebook, and you had a post up that your coworkers at Home Depot created a patch. And I told you earlier, I started tearing up, and tears are okay. Because the patch, they explained, you explained, was the size of your brain tumor. Mm-hmm. And it said on it a quote from you, "Not done, not even close." And I thought, it's Tom Nardone, who's like one of the most amazing human beings in the world. And screw, I haven't had enough time to get to know him better, to spend more time with him, to enjoy his company more. Yet. And how the hell could he have a brain tumor that's big enough to make a patch out of and have that many words on? Holy crap. That just it floored me that there's a physical representation of that. So, yeah. So the second part of that was you had asked me why the pink wig, and I said, well, you know what? We've got pink ribbons for everything else. I have a thing about wigs and fascinators and hats, and so I thought, what better tribute to Tom Nardone having a brain tumor than to wear a pink wig? And I might donate it to you. You were talking about you're going to have a big old scar on your head. I might send you some really cool wigs, or pay for you to get that awesome tattoo.
Yeah, I might. If you send me a wig, I would. If you sent a wig, I would wear it and I would record a video of a show with Yvonne, and I would do the show proudly wearing any wig that you sent me. As far as that goes, it's interesting you'd bring that up about the wig or covering up my scar, because one of my listeners her name is, and I'm not kidding, is Happy, and
nice.
Quite an appropriate name too. She's always wonderful. She actually did come down and meet with Yvonne and me and she is making me a hat in the shape of a brain. She's actually gonna.
Nice.
Yeah, she's got that. As far as I know, she's finished with it, but
that's way better than a pussy hat. So you're getting a brain hat, which is better than a pussy hat.
Way better, I should think, and far more appropriate to wear out in public.
Yeah.
She's actually, it's going to be gray, and the Broca's area of the brain, which is where my tumor is, she's going to make it blue for cancer awareness. Now, it's not known that my tumor is cancerous, but
right.
it is.
And it's a tumor.
And, I asked the doctor, how come we're not doing a biopsy? And he says, well, the truth is if it's cancer, it's coming out. If it's not cancer, it's coming out. So who cares? And I kind of think, that makes sense to me. I mean,
yeah.
So he didn't, and of course he didn't word it that way. He's a doctor, he's a great guy. And he and my speech pathologist have both agreed to be on the show. So
great.
I will be, I plan on doing it, hopefully 2 shows from the hospital. Well, at least recording one with my doctor and with my speech pathologist and putting that together into a show that I'll sort of narrate beforehand. I'm also thinking about, depending on how I feel after the surgery, is Yvonne and I might sit up in the bed and do a Facebook Live Q&A. And the other thing is really exciting to me. Part of this surgery, I'm going to be awake for it. Okay.
You're excited about that. That is most people's biggest fear.
I was scared about it. And then it occurred to me there might be an opportunity for me to capitalize on it and, further inflate my ego and my listener base. So, as long as I can justify a fear with attention, I guess I'm okay. So what I'm going to bring my handheld Zoom recorder that I have, and I'm going to place that on the bed right next to me. And so while I'm awake for the surgery, they're going to be asking me questions and like zapping parts of my brain to screw me up on the question part. And I think that would be a really cool thing, because they'll tell me to count,
So they're going to let you record the surgery essentially.
It wouldn't be the first time. On YouTube, there's many doctors who have allowed people with video blogs to just record it. And they've even had like a nurse who wasn't busy, who was happy to operate the camera.
It depends on the hospital. I found that some of the hospitals are really kind of weird about that. Other ones, I've gotten videos of, or like the recording of my surgery from them on CD. So.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I really don't want to see that.
You don't want to see it, right?
I mean, if it was, I don't know. I can't think of a single surgery I'd want to,
they showed me it was the internal. It was like, I guess I should clarify, it was the scope that they gave me the DVD of, not the like cutting me open thing.
Right. And I wouldn't want to, I don't know. As beautiful and awesome as it must be, I just don't have a need to see my own brain. But, the craziest thing about this whole thing is that, with all the awesomeness that is in my brain and known to be in my brain, how was there enough room for a tumor to find its way in and set up shop? I mean, I'm going to have to get the doctor to weigh in medically about how that was possible, because it doesn't make any sense to me. You'd think there'd be, barely enough room for another thought, but
and what, when they remove it, like what will take its place, that remains to be seen, because if you're already this awesome.
I know. I mean, it's almost unfathomable what the repercussions of this could be in a positive light. Yes. And what you were saying, I am pretty positive about the whole thing. But, I think like my way of dealing with problems usually is, particularly when it's something I really can't do anything about immediately or perhaps at all, is I just have this kind of bury my head in the sand and wait for it to go away kind of a attitude. And I think that, and of course, as joking and such, is is one of the greatest defense mechanisms that anyone could use. And I do encourage it myself. But, at some point you will have to face it. You will have to.
Yeah.
And that, if some of you who hear me talk a lot might realize my voice is a little different. It's I'm rather hoarse. I was worried about after promising to be on your show, I was worried about my voice, but it seems to be doing okay right now. This morning.
So is that one of the effects that you've had? Because I know Broca's is partly the.
No, that is the effect, and I'm perfectly willing to share this. That was the effect of Friday night. Well, I guess. Wait a minute. Thursday night, Friday morning, at about 3 a.m. Tom Nardone waking up screaming. Now, I don't mean yelling.
Right.
I don't mean shouting. I don't mean wailing. I mean screaming, like screaming, very high pitched. It began with me getting really scared, thinking, going down this rabbit hole of all the worst case scenarios, replaying or playing in my mind what it would be like for all the people who know me and love me to deal with, whatever crisis I had in my head that could happen. And, actually just visualizing it and I couldn't stop from doing it. I have Yvonne talks with Jenny Friedman a lot, and she's been so helpful.
Yeah.
One of the things Yvonne taught me that has worked is just to simply tell yourself that you don't have to do this right now. I don't have to do this right now. I can do this later. I did try that, but it did absolutely nothing. It's helped me a lot. That has helped me. It's kept me at work when I normally probably would have had to go home for the day.
Yeah.
But this was too much, and I ended up just screaming and crying, and I couldn't stop. And I didn't want to stop. I didn't care. I was worried that I would wake my wife up, which I did, and she, panicked a little bit at first, and I had to just basically explain to her, I'm just crying. I didn't, get hurt. Nothing happened, because she just hears her husband screaming, which she's, never heard. And it was very frightening for her, but, I couldn't stop. And Yvonne came up and sat down next to me, and she brought a couple of my Ativan up, and, she managed to get me calmed down, and we, she put me back in the bed and just sat there with me until I fell asleep. And then that morning she called Home Depot and explained to them that I wouldn't be in. Would not have even thought to call them. I just knew I wasn't going in, but they needed to know.
Yeah.
So she's been so great, and has just, I don't, honestly, without her, I think, and I didn't really say how this began, but, I was home taking a leak one day, and mid-leak, the side of my face started kind of throbbing.
Mm.
I tried to say, what the hell is going on with my face? Except for what I said was, what the hell? I couldn't, I knew what I wanted to say. I knew exactly how to say it, but I couldn't say the words. It was just this gibberish that made no sense to me and wouldn't have made sense to anybody else. But anyway, and Yvonne was already at the hospital for days with her people. With her father, who was getting a valve replacement, and she came home that day, and I was not looking forward to her coming home, even though I'd missed her.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was going to have to tell her this, and I was worried she'd want to go right back to the hospital, and which was the right thing to do. And of course, that's exactly what she did. And they did find something in the scan, and that's kind of how it all got started. But she has just been amazing. I can't, in the state of South Carolina, if you have a seizure, you can't drive for 6 months, which, hey,
that's in most states. Yep. We have it here too.
So I can't drive. So, Home Depot has had people bringing me to and from work, and, when Yvonne came, and, there's a guy who happens to be on my schedule. He's been on my show, Joseph Airwood, really fantastic guy. He passes my house every morning and home and back. So he's been bringing me to work, and there's some days that I wake up and I don't realize until I wake up that I just can't go in that day. So I just meet him at the driveway, and he comes by, and I say, Joseph, buddy, I'm sorry. And he says, man, it's no problem. I'll make sure I tell him at work. And they haven't made me feel guilty in the least bit. I mean, they have been nothing short of perfect. I couldn't, there's nothing I could want them to do that they haven't already been doing, But
you're somebody who's paid it forward for your entire life. It's the least most people in your life could do right now is to support you through this. So
that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. I try to help people when I can, and and I can't always, and so when I can, I do try to steer them to someone who I hope can. Sometimes it works out great, and sometimes it doesn't. But and listen, it was really kind of cool to get your message yesterday, because you started out just mentioning that you and I haven't spent an incredible amount of time together, and now I saw that on the pop-up, and I was sure it was just going to be which, and I don't mean this to sound like ungrateful at all,
right.
But I was very pleased if that's what it actually turned out to be. It wasn't, though. I figured it was just going to be you, offer me your support about, my
right.
brain and all that. But it wasn't. It was about something different. So it was kind of a nice, refreshing change that, that you had mentioned that my writing, and I think that based on your description, it seems like the story might have been called "This is Why Most ADHD Blogs Suck" or something.
Yes, I think that was it. And I was like, I'm about to restart this blog. I better read Tom's post because I want to entertain people like Tom.
And I'll tell you why that was so nice to me, because I haven't gone back to read that, but the title of it sounds really not so great, and it almost like insulting to so many people, and I really honestly considered taking it down.
Thank God you didn't.
Yeah, and so it was really amazing, because I said, that's got to be the one she's talking about.
Yeah.
And I think I talked about Andrew Wilcox at the end of that one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's actually his favorite blog post, of course.
Yeah.
As far as I know. Anyway, I was really moved for when you told me that it was an influence in you, because I understand the way things are, and I'm it's taken me a while to realize it, but I don't set out to help people, but I do what I do knowing that what I do does help people. It's not in the forefront of my mind when I do it. It's, I guess the way I kind of explain what I do is that there's really a bunch of great people out there, yourself, Terry Matlin, and, Lori DePar and Linda Ross. I mean, all the Eric Tivers, Jenny Friedman, all the really great, people out there who are there to help people with ADHD. And I love and respect all of you guys, really, because without you, what I do would make, in my opinion, what I do would be entirely ridiculous, because, if there's nobody out there trying to help people become better, because a lot of people want to be better.
Yes.
And if it weren't for you guys, there wouldn't be any hope, in my opinion. Now, the way I try to help people is the people who either don't really particularly have an interest in changing. I don't think that just because a person doesn't have big goals, or because a person doesn't have a lot of drive, or whatever, if they don't, then I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but it's certainly not a reason they should feel bad. I mean, just because a person is accepting their place in life, it's certainly not something they should feel guilty about. And that's why I think what I do is important. The person you are is just the person that you are.
Yes.
And there's just no reason to not be happy. And, I just like to think that what I do and say makes that okay for those people, and makes them at least, I never encouraged anybody not to get help or not to be better. I don't encourage people to accept the status quo, but I just do, and I'm okay about it. So when I talk about it, that's in my head. Yeah, that's what I do. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think you're the average Joe,
right?
And you happen to have ADHD, and shit happens, and now a brain tumor. You know, things happen, and one of the things I appreciate about you is you're fucking hilarious as all get out. First of all, your energy. If anybody who's listening has ever met Tom Nardone and his fantastic wife Yvonne, you know that when you're with him that there's a certain energy. And it doesn't matter if you've had a shitty day or not, you're just amazing. So, and I think that showing people that and telling people about that, it's reality. You have to live in reality. We're not all going to be rock stars, whether we have ADHD or not. But it doesn't mean, we have to go through life thinking, everything sucks. So, my project manager is always like, here's some of the things I love about you is you just say, yeah, you have ADHD. So what? What do you want to do now? and life should be freaking fabulous.
Yeah, and it's awesome for that. And another thing that is really cool is that, like, if Yvonne and I are having an argument, it's like I can say, hey, you know what? We should really just do this on the show.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's something I don't really want to get into, because I mean, who wants? And and she'll say, okay, but and then maybe she'll remember it, maybe she won't, but I win either way. Either I don't have to deal with it, or it's perfect fodder for the show. And but Yvonne and I, as many of you know, we have like two main things that we do that in my opinion keeps the peace. And and I'm happy to share those with you, and many of you already know, but separate bedrooms, honestly, I'm telling you, I get it. I go downstairs to take care of business. We're married, all that crap, without getting into a lot of details. I'm perfectly welcome in there to fulfill my husbandly duties. But one thing that's awesome when that's done is these two words that Yvonne, which is what every man wants to hear after that. And those words are, okay, get out. And then I go upstairs and I play my video games, and we're good.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the box. If we're having a conversation and it's something that is bothering me, that maybe it's something I can't justify or I can't explain with any great certainty, though I try, I can just say, look, you know what? We're putting that in the box, which means case closed. It means this isn't something we can ever speak of again, ever.
Right.
There's so many things in that box that honestly, neither one of us can remember everything that's in it. I'm sure there's other things that have been put in the box that we forgot about that probably got put in there again. But in any case, and the do-over, of course, which, actually we did that this morning. Yvonne was a little cranky when she got up, and she comes in giving me a hard time. And I mean, I literally hadn't said a word or whatever. And I said, I tell you what, Yvonne, I think this is a perfect opportunity for a do-over.
Yeah.
Why don't you go back in your room and come back out, and why don't you say something to me that you think I might enjoy hearing this morning, and then we'll just see where that goes. And she just hung her head, went back in her room, came out, and we fine, beautiful. It's as if it never happened. So, I mean, we just don't get hung up with that shit. We do get in arguments every once in a while, but it's, and then one of us will usually say, okay, I mean, have you had enough yet? Because I have, yeah, I guess so. Okay, and we just forget it. It's
right.
Done. So
it's like putting things in the scuttle, right? Yeah, I played with this enough. I think I'll put it in the scuttle, and if it's important enough to me, I'll go get it later. And years later, go to the scuttle and like, holy crap, look at all this stuff that was in there. I don't even know what this stuff is.
Right on.
Yeah. So you're going to be recording in the hospital tomorrow.
Oh no, tomorrow. Oh, I don't know how long your show usually is, but
Half an hour, but whatever.
When it's Tom Nardone, most hosts makes concessions for that, but you should not feel obligated to. Uh,
I don't do anything out of obligation.
I know you don't.
That you and my boyfriend now know that. So.
Okay. Yvonne and I, my best friend Jason Bennett at Home Depot, his mother and father live in Charleston.
Yes.
Now he had, before we ever went down there the first time, he says, yeah, my parents live down there. If you guys need a place to stay. And, that's like, hey, I was like, yeah, hey, yeah, Jason, yeah, thanks, man. Maybe we will, and apparently he had called Yvonne too and made her the same thing. And Yvonne and I talked about it, and I think the appointment was at such a time that it would have been dark.
Yeah.
Yvonne doesn't like to drive in the dark, particularly places she's not sure of.
Yeah.
So we decided, okay, well, it might be awkward and we've never met these people, but we're going to go there and we're going to, do whatever. Well, so.
Since when does awkward ever get in your way?
Well, the imposition that I would put a total stranger in. They don't
I know.
No idea who I was.
Yeah.
So I, of course, brought them a book and signed it, I said, hey, here you go. Thank you. And of course she read it and loved it. And that's awesome. But honestly, those two people, it's crazy. It's like Aunt B and Andy Taylor. When I tell you that our room was, but she was excited as she could be to have us there. Even before we ever met, she's saying, we're going to have just let us know what time, we'll have your dinner ready. Your room is already ready to go. Everything. When I tell you there were mints on the pillow, there were mints on the on the bed. Really, all 3 times we've been there, there have been mint. It is part of her.
That's hysterical.
Oh, I know. And so it's been, and now when we go to Charleston, we're not really thinking about the appointment. We're thinking about, man, we get to hang out with Carolyn and Phil because they're such great people.
What better way to put you in a good frame of mind, right? To be loved and cared for.
So awesome. But but my parents are coming down, and Yvonne's father and his girlfriend are coming down, and well, of course, and Phil and Carolyn, the people, Aunt B and Andy Taylor, the people are saying, they've already told us, that they're going to be there at the hospital with you, because they're at this point pretty committed to the whole process. And I couldn't thank them enough. But, it's it's like, and I was talking with Rick Green, and one thing that I had sort of already realized, but I wasn't able to put it in the words that he did. And because me and Rick Green have really become pretty close over the past year. We're always at each other and like these random Facebook messages and like, hey, Rick, I really think those pants accentuate all the best parts of your ass, or just for no reason, or Rick will tell me my fly's down or people, I think most people don't know Rick Green the way I do. And I think and I don't want to publicly, talk about it.
I don't think we need all those details.
There's a whole lot to that guy. I'll just say
there is. Yes.
But anyway, he had told me, he says, Tom, one thing that you probably have already discovered is that, when there's something bad that happens, usually there are more good things that result from it, not necessarily enough to overshadow the main thing, but it's it's not like everything that results from this is bad. And so far, other than my own fear and anxiety, there's nothing has come from any of this that has been bad. Everything's been really good. We've had, have a lot of my fans have made the drive to come and meet me, and which is such a great thing. We always, open the house up to them and, let them stay with us. And we really thoroughly enjoy that. Lisa, I even let her dogs live with us, which everybody knows how I feel about dogs. But her dogs were fantastic, and they were really nice. And I even, just for the record, I did this for Lisa's benefit. And I grabbed the dogs and had a little selfie with them. And it was,
Ah.
but if you could have seen the video, it's like, could you just please hurry up and take this damn picture? You know, I mean, it was kind of like that. But,
Oh God.
and you know, we did dry ice bombs with them, so and we had a pretty good time. It's been a lot of fun. So, you know, honestly, at this point, I can't complain.
Well, you could, but you're not somebody who's like that. I mean, I think along the lines of what Rick was probably trying to convey, which is some people get so focused on the crap that's happening, you know, the what could happen, the fear, all of that, and they don't keep themselves attentive to all of the things that are happening around them. You know, new people coming into your life, people providing support, humorous moments. I think you're bright enough though to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, believe me, I could complain, but I don't have, you know. And the other thing is, it's just very difficult for me to have a cynical outlook towards the world, where usually it is not any problem at all. I hope to some.
Wait a second, has this changed you?
You know, okay, good question. You know, I was talking with Eric. Eric and I were Zooming last night for like 4 hours, and you know, one of the things I will say, I don't think it's going to change anything that people are currently, or that people currently enjoy about what I do. But if anything, it'll change the amount of material that I put out, because, you know, it's like, and I really don't mean to sound at all morbid, but, you know, I guess it was easy for me to do and not do the things that I did and didn't do, because I guess in my head, I always knew that I've got plenty of time, you know, but, you know, it didn't occur to me that anything like this, you know, I mean, I just guess in a really weird way, it's just like, I didn't think I could ever die, you know. It's, and, you know, this, even though this isn't by any means a death sentence, it's a very, you know,
Not even close.
Not even close. But it's, you know, it has sort of opened up my eyes to say, you know, if there is anything that you do want to do, you know, it's, you know, there's really no legitimate reason to wait around to do it. So, one of the things that I do intend to do is to work on my second book, which I never thought I would bother with, but since it's, you know, so easy to publish a book now, I mean, honestly, and anybody out there who has a book and don't know what to do, let me know, because I can tell you exactly what to do, and trust me, you can have it available this week on Amazon. It's, you know, it used to be a big deal.
It's ridiculously easy. It is ridiculously easy.
To say you were a published author used to be like a big deal, and I guess it is still to a lot of people who don't know about, you know, CreateSpace, because it's, I mean, honestly, I could just grab all kinds of weird text from my computer and, you know, put it all format in a book, and it may make no sense, but it could be available if anybody wanted to buy it, and
it could be searchable on Amazon.
And they'd feel quite ripped off, and eventually Amazon would, you know, look into it.
But let's just say that you have a book called Flying Kites, right?
It's actually called Chasing Kites.
Chasing Kites. I'm a visual person, and so my image is just of the kite actually flying.
In your defense, on the cover is a kid flying a kite. So
there you go. There you go. So you are a published author. What's your second book going to be?
Well, I don't know what the title is. My current working title is it's not going to be this, because somebody's already taken this title, but The Unachiever's Handbook.
Nice.
But I'll come up with, and I don't, you know, and the thing is, I'm not going to start it or bother with anything until I get home from surgery. So, you know, it might be that I go an entirely different way.
Yeah.
But, you know, the last book was very easy to write, because it was just my life. It was just, this is, you know, it was written for parents who have kids with ADHD, or people who have ADHD who wanted to just, you know, I wanted parents to understand what their kids might go through if they don't have their ADHD treated, like mine was not, all through school.
Right.
And that's a result of just not knowing about it. The awareness of it has gotten so much better over the years, and it's kind of out there. And where it really wasn't when I was in school. But nevertheless, there was no treatment or knowledge about it in my circles. And I wanted people to see what exactly that was like. So I really spared absolutely no detail in all the worst things that I went through. But, one thing I was very careful to do is I didn't want to cause people with ADHD to just have it all be doom and gloom. So, every couple of chapters I had really funny stuff that I would put in there. So it was kind of balanced out.
Yeah.
And of course, towards the end, it's awesome because I'm Tom Nardone at the end, and and it's awesome to be Tom Nardone. So that was it. Really, you have to read it to the end. I have had one girl wrote me a message and says, Tom, I tried to read it, I really did, and it was so well written, but it was just so depressing, it was killing me. I said, well, certainly I don't want you to be depressed, but I can't believe you didn't, but I'm certain that you didn't even get to chapter 3. And she goes, no, I didn't. I said, go through, just read to chapter 3 and you'll get it. You'll, because chapter 3 is Brody Bricker, which is a lot of people's, actually, that's a funny chapter. It's like people love it or could have totally done without it. And I love it. And it's all true stories.
And as the author, you get to choose if it stays in the book or not.
Which it did. But I mean, it wasn't an easy decision maker. I mean, I talked with Yvonne about it. She really wanted me to put it in there. And then I think I talked with Terry Matlin about it. And then, she helped me I needed some way to make it, to explain why it was in there. And I felt like it needed to be in there, but I couldn't really put it in the words. And after talking with her, we sort of, she explained to me probably why that was, that I was such good friends with such a terrible person. And, what it was is that he knew a life of zero fear, and all I knew was fear. He had no fear, and I had nothing but fear.
Yeah.
And it was just some kind of vicarious living. And that's exactly, looking back how it was. So it did make sense, but there's a lot of funny stuff in there too. All the ex-wife stories and, and I didn't completely fillet.
Wait a minute. How many ex-wives do you have?
Only one.
Okay. We got a lot of stories out of just one. I thought I missed something, like all the ex-wives. I was like, wait a minute.
No.
How many does he have? I don't remember that he had.
He was plenty. She may have been 3 ex-wives worth of stories. And of course, I could have just done a book on that, but who the hell would want to read that?
So I have a question. Have they talked about, like, is there going to be any connection between how this tumor either has been affecting you or the removal of it might affect you and some of the things that have been happening with ADHD, positive or negative? Like, we're not going to lose your sparkly self, are we?
I don't, look, I will tell you, this surgery is not without its risks. Okay.
It's your brain, right?
Yeah, it is. But everybody who I've spoken to said that MUSC is perhaps the best place I could be for this. Yep. And I really, and I know that his last name escapes me. He's a friend of, I know he's good friends with Jenny Friedman. His name's Larry, and I want to thank him for, encouraging me to get a second opinion. And I did want to do that, but I will tell you this, is that the way this hospital works is, there's a lot of different brain surgeons at this hospital. And every, I think, Tuesday, they all meet. They all go over all their cases. They all have a meeting. They talk about what's the best thing. So that's better than a second opinion, that's many different people, You've had
case collaboration on the fantastic brain of Tom Nardone and how we were going to do everything to, yes.
Yeah, so and I think they are, it seemed like I heard that the word inoperable, but they are going to get as much if they can. Who's to say they won't be able to get it all? Don't know if it's cancerous, but they're certainly not going to remove anything that I use to speak. In the Brokers area is really where that happens. So be in that area, any place that they identify affecting my speech, they will not move. They will not bother with. So, and of course, I hope to have that whole portion, the awake part of this, because they're going to knock me out when they, open my head up.
Right. You got to be out for part of it, right?
Once they're, and it's called awake surgery, and once they're gonna kind of wake me up like halfway awake, so I'm still gonna be kind of out of it.
Yep.
They'll ask me a lot of the questions that my speech pathologist already asked. We went through when I spoke with her, so she just gets a baseline for these are the things that Tom knows and knows very well. And if there was any question where I had any hesitation or any any the slightest inability to answer, she would mark it so that will not be a question. So every question she asked me is something that I will absolutely know.
Right.
And so if I'm unable to answer a question while this one part of my brain is being stimulated, obviously they're not gonna, or if I'm unable to speak about it, they're not gonna mess with it. But if when they get to this one part, and I think that's what they call mapping the brain. Yep. So these are the parts that we can, okay, so then they know, and then they and they go from there. And it is scary, but it is exciting at the same time. And look, I hope to record that, but I have to accept the fact that I'm okay now, to talk to you about it. Yeah. But the other night I thought I was okay too, and when I woke up screaming, I go to work some mornings thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be a good day, and then 30 minutes later I'm calling it's just unpredictable when my fear is gonna, or my anxiety sets in. So for me the likelihood of me just forgetting to push the record button is quite there. So I'm gonna talk with my speech therapist, and I'll say, hey, make sure this little red light is on before and I'm sure
of all the things they're paying attention to, right? Put this on your checklist.
Yeah, Kiki Thayer is her name, and she's really just a fantastic human. I just loved her the minute I met her. She even downloaded my app.
Awesome. So did I. I just want to chime in, not to steal the glory, but I was one of the first ones to download app, and I've been I'm hoping that as soon as you're better, we're going to talk about apps some more, because
Oh yeah, we were going to, but you had a thing.
I had something, and then you had this brain tumor thing that happened, and I thought, well, it might not be the right time. I don't know.
At least for the next, we can talk about it whenever you want.
When's your surgery? When is your surgery?
Tuesday at 10, and they're expecting me to be in the hospital a minimum of 2 days, but shouldn't be more than 5 days after.
Okay. As long as they don't leave any sponges in there, huh? You're okay?
Yeah, no sponges or rings or, any kind of...
recording devices.
Food or, anything they might, have. But, I think they're going to be pretty focused on what they're doing, because Dr. Vandergriff is my doctor. He thought it was pretty quirky. He wore a bow tie. I figure, I like the idea of knowing the guy doing my brain surgery wearing like a bow tie.
That's freaking awesome.
Kind of nerdy and kind of geeky, and he's kind of focused on what he's doing, I guess. It's,
Very nice.
Right.
Very nice. Well, Tom, I hope that you tell Yvonne, I know that you've got a lot of support around you.
I do.
In person and online and everything else. And I know that everybody has probably said this to you, but I truly want you to know, if there's anything, stupidest thing in the world or the biggest thing in the world, I'm not that far away.
You're in Maine.
I'm not that far away. And here's the fucking awesome thing. My job's coming to an end, so I got all kinds of time. And Maine is not that far away. In my mind, ADHD or not, Maine is, where you are is drivable from where I am.
Well, if you want to make the drive, you can feel free. There's a guest room here, and you can stay the night at Casa de Tom, just as...
I know. Well, I don't. The other thing is, I want to make sure that it's something where I'm going to be helpful and not one more,
Just coordinate with Yvonne. That would be awesome to have you down here.
Okay. All right. We're going to plan for that, so I'll get a hold of her.
One thing before we go, to all your listeners and to all my listeners who, I really do appreciate every word that has, been said and comment to me, because it's, it really has helped. It's, the more I talk about it, the less significant it feels, and the less, it's just like anything you talk about, it's just like when it's been talked to death, it's like you just, you know, and it makes it not such a big, you know, unthinkable scenario, you know, and the more I do talk about it. So, you know, I thank all of you that have done that, and Kirsten, really, Kirsten.
It's okay.
We went through all this, and you were on my show. Kirsten. I so appreciate you giving me a platform to speak about this in detail, and I can't. It's such a privilege to be on your show. I think a lot of you as a person, and it's just been such a pleasure to be on your show and be included among the many.
Absolutely, you're going to be on it again. So I'm just saying, maybe live from your house. Who knows?
Amazing.
Wouldn't that be freaking awesome? You wouldn't have to freak around with all of my technology.
That's right. I'll teach you how to use all your shit.
Awesome. Totally awesome. I'm going to be getting a hold of Yvonne as soon as we get off here. And you are well loved by me and a lot of people, but I want you to know in particular that I super love you. And I am looking forward to playing with you.
All right.
Without this thing in your head.
Yeah, we'll get rid of it. It'll be fine.
All right. Tom Nardone. You can find him on the Tom Nardone Show. Tell people what your website is, what your book is. I don't know. You want to give out your phone number?
Well, I mean, I will tell you, the easiest way to get to all of that stuff is through my app, which is on iOS and Android, and now actually on Amazon.
Nice.
Yeah, on the Fire. And it's just the Tom Nardone Show is the app. But my main blog is tomnardone.net. I also have ADHDpeople.net, and the tomnardoneshow.com is you know where the show is. The show doesn't always get posted to the site. I kind of suck at doing that. But anyway, but the minute my show is released, it's always available on the app if you guys want to download it.
So the Tom Nardone Show app, which I proudly sport here. We're going to proudly sport. Let's see, so people can see what it looks like, because it's got its own little spot. Let's see, on my screen, right there.
Oh, hold on. Lift it up. That little. Lift it up. Was that 1, 2?
It's
4.
It's the next. It's in the middle row at the bottom there. So.
Okay, because I noticed it's not on the bottom row of your main go-to apps. I noticed that, but that's
because I get lost. Because look at how much stuff is on. Because look at how much stuff is on that screen.
I know. I'm kidding.
How could I find it if it was on this screen? I can't see a damn thing on that screen. So everything that's important, right? I got legal stuff. I got sleep stuff. I've got Tom Nardone and Wirecast.
As long as I'm among the essentials, that's fantastic.
You are. You
All
are.
Right. All right.
Thank you, Tom. I will talk to you soon. I'm going to talk to Yvonne sooner.
Okay.
Love you.
I love you, Kirsten. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
All right.
If you've enjoyed the show, please like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YourADHDLife. You can find us every week live on Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook Live at facebook.com/YourADHDLife. This is Dr. Kirsten Milliken. Until next time, have fun and find ways to play.